But you can't do nothing with an emotionally unstable man, except for get your life ruined and the best years of your life wasted. An emotionally unstable man cannot lead you. He can't teach you. He can't make you feel safe and secure. He can't even lead himself or protect himself from himself. His decisions are going to follow his emotions, not principles. When you're dealing with an emotionally, a lot of y'all, and I'm saying this because I get questions from y'all, and you're saying these things like you're dealing with good or bad men. And when I say, no, you got to deal with an evolved man, a grown man, a lot of y'all kind of attribute that to, he don't play video games and he has a nice, successful career or something like that. But let me tell you something. One way you can spot an immature man is to spot the emotional instability in that man. And it shows up in 5 major ways most times. Early on, before you waste the best years of your life, before you do any of that, you can usually spot an emotionally unstable man before the trauma. The first way is suppression. And I got to address this. Even though number 5 is most common, we're going to get to that one in a second. Suppression shows up a lot. And a lot of people confuse it as, well, he's in control of his emotions. He's not crying all over the place and stuff like that. He's pretty even keeled. Suppression is a form of instability emotionally because it shows a man that is afraid to face his emotions, has not managed his emotions, does not have the capacity to deal with his emotions or let them out in appropriate spaces at the appropriate times. So now with you or anybody, he just bottles them up. But think of somebody who is holding a bunch of luggage all at once, all by themselves. They just holding a bunch of luggage. Are they stable? Or is it one little thing, one little rock that they stand on or walk on the wrong way that's going to have everything come tumbling down? That's the way a lot of men are. Men who suppress, when you see a man that cannot express himself, doesn't have spaces like therapy or accountability partners or mentors where he can express himself, he just never has any type of emotions. I'm not talking about he doesn't have emotional reactions, but he doesn't have a space or a way that's intentional before you came along to express and show the emotions that he feels. Or whenever he's trying to express emotions, you notice that's very difficult for him. That's an emotionally unstable man. Doesn't mean he's bad. What it means is he stopped maturing at some point in his childhood where somebody or something taught him that his emotions made him less of an acceptable person. So as a survival mechanism, he started to suppress and bottle up. Now, that may not seem like such a bad thing until you're the one that bottle comes bursting open on. So those of y'all who are dealing with guys that say things and they always apologizing for it later, or they doing things, they always apologizing for it later, but in between time, you never get any type of emotional rise until it's blown up. That's an emotionally unstable man. He was suppressing from the very beginning. Another way that you know you're dealing with an emotionally unstable man is if he says one thing and then does another often. Now, I'm not talking about a man that makes adjustments because he's coming across new information and, this is the best way to get to the end goal that was there beforehand. That's a man who's simply, taking in new information and making adjustments as everybody should. But whenever a man says one thing in one space and constantly does another, and his reasoning is always how he felt, either he felt a certain way and that's why he made the commitment that he made or the promise, and then when it was time to do the thing or stick to it, he felt a different way, that is a sign of an emotionally unstable man. He is impulsive. He is unpredictable. He'll say anything basically to make people happy or whatever sounds or feels right to people around him. But truthfully, he doesn't come from a place of his authenticity. He may be a people pleaser. He may be a fake or whatever it is, but he's emotionally unstable. Maybe the emotion is simply fear of rejection. But whatever it is, you can't be led by that. You'll never feel secure in that. Matter of fact, dealing with a man like that, I don't care how handsome he is going to have you in your masculine because somebody has got to be the stability factor. Somebody has got to be the black and white mission-oriented factor in the relationship. So as a woman, if you can't rest in your femininity of intuition, feeling things, kind of peeping things kind of from your spirit, you can't do that with a man who's all over the place, mentally, emotionally. Another way that lets you know that a man is emotionally unstable is high highs and low lows. Now, this is very tricky because a lot of times you see these high highs and you're like, oh man, that's amazing. Oh, he goes to the ends of the earth to show me his love for me. He'll do anything. He'll hop on a flight and come from London or wherever. He'll spend his last dime even though it's not good for him too. But you got these emotional highs, but that also comes with emotional lows. Now, I'm not saying it's bad for a man to be expressive or anything like that, but when you notice these extremes, don't get so caught up in the good that you forget there's got to be an opposite end to this spectrum. If that man never takes a second and says, oh wait, long term, this particular thing that I want to do or I think we should do serves our purpose. If that man can't do that, but he's always going off of his emotion extremes, you know you're dealing with an emotionally unstable man. Even if the things that you're getting is good. A lot of y'all be thinking y'all getting love bombed in the beginning of a relationship when really you're dealing with an emotionally unstable man who in that honeymoon phase, he feels like he's in love and he's ready to jump off the cliff and go straight into it, marry you tomorrow. He ain't trying to love bomb you. He's emotionally unstable. He's emotionally immature. Another sign that you're dealing with an emotionally unstable man is if he matches your energy. Y'all ever dealt with a dude? Put I down in the chat if you ever dealt with a dude that the moment you got emotionally riled up, so did he. The moment you got upset, so did he. If you raised your voice, he raised his voice. You all over the place, he all over the place. You stressed out, you come home, instead of you getting that anchor in a man that's gonna help you come back to equilibrium and ground zero in a place of calm, you stressed out, he stressed out. That's the man who is matching your energy. Or anytime that he does something, he says, well, you did this, and he always got something to justify what he did based on what it is he got from you, or based on how he felt from you. And you always felt, not that you were trying to test this man, but you always felt like, man, I pretty much control your emotions. You get a rise out of him whenever you want to. You can piss him off whenever you, not that you try to, but you notice like the moment you snap your fingers, you can pretty much get this man to feel or react however you want him to react. And even though it may give you a sense of power, and that may feel good, it also gives you a sense of insecurity with this man, that you're dealing with somebody who goes with the wind. You're dealing with an emotionally unstable, I don't care how much he justifies it, makes sense, well, you did this and it had me feeling like, and that's when that means a principle or a value system is never at the center of why he does what he does. All you're doing is peeping somebody who is emotionally dictated. I don't care how articulate he is. And that kind of man is always going to back up or justify what he does in your life, in your relationship, based on somebody else. Very feminine aspect, if you ask me. Now, I said I was going to get to the most common. Most common way you can peep an emotionally unstable and immature man is whenever you get a man who personalizes everything. Everything has to mean something towards him. You need space? Oh, it must be because you don't like me. It must be because you're doing this, that, and the other. You not as talkative today? Oh, you know what I'm saying? You don't want to talk to me no more. It must be because, and it's always something with him. Now, why does that make a man emotionally unstable? Because one of our core needs as humans is to protect our sense of self. That's why a lot of our trauma comes from childhood. So you have a lot, because as kids in our formative years, what we're trying to do, we're trying to establish who we are based on how our parents treat us, based on the environment, etc. So when you got a man whose emotions or emotional self is stunted, and at 10 years old, 8 years old, whenever that trauma came, he never developed, he never continued to develop into his true self. Now what you got is a man that his self is exposed to the elements of whatever circumstances are surrounding you guys. The way that you talk, the way that things are going. So his sense of self is always threatened, right? And when your sense of self is always threatened, even as an adult, your emotions are gonna go whatever way might be able to help you protect yourself. So now your tone of voice, you gotta basically walk on eggshells with this type of man. I don't know how many of y'all ever dealt with that. Y'all be thinking y'all dealing with a narcissist. Look, you might be just dealing with an emotionally unstable man. Every little thing that you say, every little thing that you do, you gotta defend it or explain it or think ahead about how he might feel about it. You late from work, you don't answer your phone as quickly, your voice a little off, your energy a little off. Maybe you just didn't even put yourself together the same way that you did before. I think it was on TikTok or Twitter or something recently, where a woman was talking about her dude didn't like that she shaved herself down there because he automatically felt like that was her basically getting ready to cheat on him. Like a woman maintenance and grooming herself was something he personalized as a disrespect to him and a threat to their relationship. That's not just insecurity or just control. That is an emotionally unstable man. So when I'm preaching all this stuff, talking emotional stability, look, first off, from professional and personal experience, I remember those days being emotionally unstable. I remember those days. So I'm not talking from some type of pedestal or nothing like that, but I'm telling you what I know. When you're dealing with an emotionally unstable man, your relationship is going to be unstable. Your mental health is going to be unstable, especially if you're trying to submit and let this man take a leadership role. And if you're not, then you're going to feel like you always have to be in control. And if you are a feminine woman, some of y'all are not, but those of you who are, you're always going to feel like there's this void that's not getting filled by the person you put in that romantic role in your life, because you're dealing with an emotionally unstable man. But a man who is healthy and mature and evolved in his emotion, his ego isn't fragile, he doesn't fear rejection more than he wants to avert being disappointed in himself and the principles that he got away from in his decision making. He's able to prioritize according to his vision long term instead of being impulsive short term based on whatever it is that he feels in the moment. He's able to express his emotions in the appropriate spaces at the appropriate time with the appropriate words and in the appropriate way, as opposed to always suppressing so nobody sees his emotions and thinks that he's weak. And you see, what I notice is that a lot of you have such a nurturing spirit, you try to overcompensate for an emotionally unstable man. You are so loving, you're so patient, you're so supportive. You think that if you just pour into this man a little bit of what he could use for himself, he'll come out of that. But what you're dealing with is years and years of wiring in that man, and that's at best, y'all. Sometimes these dudes, they know exactly what they're doing, and they really just playing the game. Because you ain't the woman that they've identified they want to be with, but you got something that they can use right now or feel good with because of right now, whether it's your body, your money, etc. And all they're going to do is use up your best efforts and your best years to get them over whatever hump they are in life so they can go on and go to the next one. A lot of times taking the benefit that you invested in them and letting another woman inherit and enjoy that. I call that an internship, not a relationship. And I already went in on that in my free masterclass, how to stop being a man's internship so you can finally receive your blessing. If you have not yet, do yourself a favor and get access to that free masterclass where almost an hour I went in on the simplest and most effective way to prevent yourself from becoming a man's internship. But back to what I was saying, when you're dealing with an emotionally unstable man, you're gonna notice you never feel at peace in a relationship. A lot of y'all, your mental health starts to slip when you get with a man. A lot of y'all, you start to feel yourself being distracted from your goals, being consumed with anxiety, being overwhelmed with a lot of the tasks you used to be on top of. And it's because you put a man into your life, or you're relying on this guy to be a man, and emotionally he's still a little boy. Not to say he's bad, but it is to say the outcome of y'all's relationship and the impact that he has on your life is going to be bad. If you're a grown woman and you're still growing and you're dealing with an emotional and mental adolescent. But those are just my thoughts. I'm just your big brother on the internet trying to add some value to your life. And if you got something of value from this conversation, I always say this: I don't need your money, keep it. But what I do want you to do is pay it forward to somebody else on your timeline by hitting that share button over in the corner. If you got something of value from this conversation, hit that share button. Pay it forward to somebody else so they can be blessed the same way that you got blessed. And if you want the keys, the simplest and most effective way to keep yourself from becoming a man's internship, stepping stool, training ground, basic training, practice run, for him to go on to another woman, click the link that you see pinned down here in the comments, also in the caption whenever you back out, and get access to my free masterclass, how to stop being a man's internship. Again, that's about an hour, free game. Click now so you don't miss it before it comes down.